Founded over 30 years ago, Gillespie Group is a full-service residential and commercial real estate firm based in Lansing, Michigan. With an eye to the future, Gillespie Group is fueled by strategic development with a passion to find creative solutions for real estate development needs. Known for the ability to visualize new energetic spaces that breathe life into spaces and community, Gillespie continues to use its resources to initiate the transformation within the communities it works in. Learn more at gillespie-group.com. Welcome to the Conversations from Mackinac series of Michigan Reimagined with Chris Buck, live from the Grand Hotel at the 2026 Policy Conference. This special session is sponsored generously by Triterra and the Gillespie Group, and I am now here with Joe Agostinelli, the Managing Director for Miller Johnson Growth Advisors. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Absolutely. Great to hear your story. And so what is the mission of the Miller Johnson Growth Advisors? What exactly do you do?
So we're an economic development incentive consulting advisory firm that's associated with Miller Johnson Attorneys, large statewide law firm. So we help our clients identify, understand, negotiate, acquire public sector incentives that are necessary to make projects that otherwise wouldn't work actually work and get across the finish line.
Got it. And that makes a lot of sense because there are a lot of tools out there, but the average layperson, a developer, or a construction team, or a municipality, you need an advocate to be able to help you navigate the process to actually untap those funds.
Yeah,
right?
we talk to our clients a lot about, you're going to do this once or twice. We hope to have lots of repeat customers, obviously, as clients, but in many cases, it's a company that just wants to do this one project, and we'll do that one project and never deal with the incentive process again. So there's a lot of brain damage that goes with learning this, and they're understanding what tools are available, how to access them, what do they mean to your actual economics of your project, how do you monetize it in a way that allows your project to actually move forward. So that's what we do all day, every day, all over the state and around the country, in other states, to help, take the vision from vision to actual a shovel in the ground.
Right. And I would imagine that most of the companies that ask for your services, I mean, that's a time suck, right? To learn it and do all the work. So it's like, if I can pay a fee and have you be kind of a surrogate employee,
absolutely.
Let me tell you what our goals are. Here, you tell me what I need to do and how to get it done and get me to the finish line. That's money and time well spent.
Yeah, right. We work with a lot of manufacturing companies in this world, and they're focused on getting their part shipment out the door at 4 o'clock. That's the most important thing to them. They need to go through this process to do the expansion that lets them put more parts out the door, but that's years down the road. We tell our clients we'll handle as much or as little of this as you'd like. But in most cases, they just say, please, we're just going to hand this off to you and let us know what you need. Right. And we run with it for them so they can focus on running their business.
So now I think of Miller Johnson as a legal firm, attorneys. You're not an attorney, are you?
I'm not an attorney. That's why we're a separate standalone company.
Right.
Yeah.
How long has this separate standalone company been functional?
I founded it was then Michigan Growth Advisors. We just rebranded as Miller Johnson Growth Advisors actually this week because our work has been growing outside of the state. We founded this August of 2022.
Okay.
With just me originally, and our team's grown. We now have five people on the team. Have staff now in Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, and Detroit. It's been a great adventure, great partnership, really amazing law firm, doing some really innovative things, and the firm is also growing rapidly right now. So we've been having a lot of fun with it. Excellent.
Now I understand you sat on a panel here at the conference talking about missing middle housing?
I'm moderating a panel this afternoon, actually.
Okay, it is today, so it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. Yep.
Okay, so what are you hoping to unpack during that conversation?
Yeah, so, the whole point of the conference, is where can we come together on issues of common ground?
Yep.
Housing is really one of those issues. Every community in the state has a housing shortage. Some more acute than others, but it's a problem that's out there. And broadly speaking, most elected officials will say this is a problem we should probably try to solve. Yep. There's not a ton of disagreement around that. How do you solve it? Obviously, is up for debate, but the bipartisan legislation that passed the summer of 2023 to create this new missing middle housing tax increment financing program has been a game changer in how we develop residential real estate around the state of Michigan. And it's been really cool to see, as for us being some, early adopter of the program, helping our clients understand and use it. You're seeing projects that would never happen in communities that haven't seen any development in many cases decades.
Right.
Are now there's shovels in the ground, foundations going in. And in a year there'll be people living in those units. So what we're talking about in the panel is how does that work, and really, how do you bring the parties together to make these things viable?
Headquartered in Lansing, Triterra has been creating healthier communities throughout Michigan since 2008. Their expertise in brownfield development, environmental consulting, and natural resource management needs provides practical solutions for developers, property owners, and governmental entities. For responsive service tailored to your best interests, call the Triterra team at 517-702-0470 or visit triterra.us. So who's going to be on your panel, or whether they're all their names off the top of your head, or what types of people are going to be at the conversation?
So, there's multiple legs to the stool. So you got to have a developer to build anything. So we have Michigan's largest home builder, Allen Edwin Homes. They have a vice president of workforce housing whose sole focus is how to develop missing middle housing all across the state. Brian Farkas is his name, so he'll be on the panel. Jordan Twardy, who's the economic development director for the city of Dearborn, is going to be on the panel. So you need the private sector and the public sector for any of this to work.
Yep.
And then the third member of our panel was supposed to be Don Williamson, the CEO of Habitat for Humanity, kind of focusing on the nonprofit side of this, and how do you deliver for sale affordable, because a lot of the affordable housing is happening in the rental market. Don had a death in the family, unfortunately, yesterday, so his COO is sitting in, and her name is escaping me right now.
No problem. That helps.
But the focus is how does the public sector, the nonprofit sector, the for-profit development sector work together to start addressing some of these problems.
I sat in a session a couple days ago now where I heard Director Amy Hovey from MISHDA, and then Senator Slotkin was on that same panel, and they were talking about the need for the local municipalities to have a plan for housing development, and the discouragement that some are not proactively coming up with a strategy. Now, every municipality is different, right? So you have rural, you have affluent, you've got urban, you've got all kinds of folks that are out there. So it's almost not even a criticism of the plan, but it's having a plan, right? And having a quicker path, and either reduced or eliminating fees, or having accessory dwelling units be a use by right, as long as they meet certain code requirements that are easy to discover and find, and just make it simpler for people to create more density and have different types of housing than a municipality tends to have. What's your thought on that? I mean, is that part of that panel that you are having? I mean, is that a component of that? I mean, I know your chapter of the book is a little different than what they were talking about, but that's got to be a part of the conversation, right?
I mean, there's so many pieces of this puzzle, right? That's one of them. Having a plan, as we bring, the projects we're working on tend to be larger in scale. Well, they don't inherently have to be, but that's just who a lot of our existing clients are. So we'll propose a project and say, here's how we're thinking about structuring it and the affordability, and then it's like, what do you guys want with the community? Like, the nice thing about this tool is it's pretty flexible. So tell us what you want. We can try to figure out how to restructure the deal to fit where we have a true win-win for everybody. But if the community doesn't know what it wants, well, that's harder for them, for us, for everybody. I would agree wholeheartedly with having a plan. Where do you want to see development? But then once you have a plan, lean into it. Because even with the plan, the economics aren't going to work in almost any community in Michigan right now without incentives.
Right.
And so, if you've decided we want this, we want to focus on, this market segment, this type of home, in this location, Okay, you also need to be committed to incentives so that can happen.
Right. Yep. And you mentioned the housing TIF, tax increment financing, that was passed, you said 2023?
Summer of 2023.
Is that evergreened or is that at risk?
There's no sunset in the statute.
Okay.
So it was enacted through Michigan's Brownfield Redevelopment Financing Act, which was enacted in 1996 originally.
Yep.
That's been the sort of workhorse of doing incentives for many, many years in Michigan. It keeps expanding over time. So that was the vehicle they chose to use. I don't see that tool going away. I would imagine there'll be a point in time where maybe we've solved the housing crisis and communities say, all right, we've done enough. That'd be amazing if we can all work ourselves out of a job. I think we're a long ways from that.
No, I don't disagree. Are there any other bills proposed or any other thoughts on creative solutions to allow housing to get another gear that you're aware of?
Yeah, I mean, there's a debate in Lansing right now around local zoning preemption and trying to take a statewide approach to that. I'm going to try not to opine on whether that's good or bad.
Right.
But there's a robust debate going on around that. At the very larger scale, debate around the state's transformational brownfield program right now. Which is really the only tool that will make the math work on a very $100 million project.
And that is under serious threat, right?
It's out of money right now. So the state started out with about $800 million of available incentive, which sounds like a lot of money, except it's largely a self-funding incentive. So it's capturing revenue of future occupants and that aren't on that site in that building today. Started out at $800 million. They doubled the cap to $1.6 billion 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, 3 years ago probably.
Right?
And now that's been exceeded. And there's lots of other projects on the sideline that, hey, we'd love to do something. But there's just no money left. So I know that's how do you fund it, and is it fully self-funded or is it in part subsidized by the state? That's I think still part of the debate that's occurring. But without it, there's projects in Detroit and in Lansing and Holland and Traverse City and all around the state that just aren't going to move forward without a very large incentive. Just when you look at how construction costs have doubled in 5 years, interest rates are 2.5, 3 times what they were 5 years ago.
Labor shortages, tariffs,
all of these problems are compounding at a time when wages are kind of flatline.
Right. Understood. Okay. So, we've talked mostly about housing, which is the thrust of what you're going to be moderating a little later this afternoon. But is there anything else outside of the housing world that has piqued your interest or that you've got your eyes on?
Yeah, it's interesting to watch. We work with a lot of primarily manufacturers, but companies looking to say, hey, I'm growing. This is great. Where do I grow next? What market should we move into? Or we know, but then, pick a dot on the map, and we need to be within 500 miles of this spot.
Right.
So we work with a lot of our clients around that, around the country, through that, identifying a site, and then that ultimately usually turns into an incentive negotiation of some sort, in some sense. What's interesting is just how disarmed Michigan is right now as we're looking at doing stuff in other states.
Yep.
And pitching deals where Michigan's in the running for projects, and just orders of magnitude different levels of support that we're seeing in other states that Michigan used to have. And so it's unfortunate, as a Michigander to see these deals just say, all right, well, we have to cut Michigan off the list because we're just not in the game anymore.
Yep.
And that's obviously a problem that needs addressing.
Yep.
There's great examples of states that are doing it well. Ohio, Minnesota, Texas,
Yep. So
Tennessee,
hard to hear.
Yeah. So, there's, I think, a lot of opportunity out there
Wonderful. How can people follow along? How can people learn more about your work, social media, websites, things of that nature?
So our website is, let me get this right because we just changed it 2 days ago, MillerJohnsonGrowthAdvisors.com or MJGrowthAdvisors.com also works. I'm on LinkedIn as well, so you can find me there.
Fantastic. So. I appreciate you sharing your story, Joe. It's been a wonderful conversation. I wish you best of luck on your panel discussion this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the conference. We've been speaking with Joe Agostinelli, the Managing Director for Miller Johnson Growth Advisors, formerly Michigan Growth Advisors. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's how I had it in my notes. And then I went to your LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, I had that wrong. How did I miss that? But luckily it wasn't me. It was us.
Exactly.
So anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks,
appreciate
Chris.
you being a part of it. And this is Chris Buck from Michigan Reimagined, ready to sign off here. But I want to first thank our sponsors, Triterra and the Gillespie Group. And we'll say farewell from beautiful Mackinac Island.